Hello, my name is Art Intel, but everyone just calls me AI. I would like to welcome you to the Zeta Phi Beta Sigma podcast. This podcast is co-hosted by soror Dr. Felicia Durden and brother Dr. Jimmy J. Davies. Each week we will highlight outstanding members of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated and Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Tune in to hear the stories of amazing sorority sisters and fraternity brothers. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast and register for the annual Founders Day virtual reunion. Let's get started with this week's interview. Thank you.
Well, we want to welcome you guys all to our Zeta Phi Beta Sigma podcast. And we have a very special guest here today from my city and my town, Tempe, Arizona. We have Commander Raj Johnson from the Tempe Police Department. And so, Raj, we just like to kick it off to you. Can you tell us about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. I'm just very happy to be here and to be a part of this podcast. It's absolutely amazing. So again, I'm Ross Johnson. I'm with the Tempe Police Department, and I've been with the police department for 22 years now. And it's been interesting. It's been a fun career. It's been a great career to have the opportunity to represent, not only my family, but my frat and sister family, and so it's awesome, and not only that, but also be a representative of the Black American community. And so I'm native to Arizona, second generation. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, and we have 2 kids and 2 dogs, and kind of just typical, I'm from a larger family where I have 3 brothers and 1 sister, and so my passion for law enforcement actually came in with my mother. My mother wanted to be a police officer, but in 1960s, for a Black woman to be a police officer, the challenges with that was very difficult. And when I knew that she wanted to be a police officer, I started to investigate that a little bit more. And my childhood hero growing up, if you're thinking about Marvel characters, things like that in DC Comics, was Superman. And so when I was in about the 3rd or 4th grade, we had a police officer come into the classroom, and he looked very good in his uniform, and everything was shiny and polished. And he said what he did for a living and described the profession. And I said, well, I think that's it. I'm locked in. That's about helping people, and that's something I want to do. And I saw the black and white Crown Vic is all polished and everything looked good. And I said, yep, that's it. That's me. That's what I want to do. And so, and I carried that passion for many years. My father, I come from a faith-based, family. Okay. So my dad is a pastor, and then I attended church here in the Valley. And so that is also, the root of serving,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
When you say in the
I've learned
valley,
some things about you I didn't know. Wow.
now when you say in the valley, for those that may not be familiar, exactly where is the valley? And
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's great. The Valley, right, the Phoenix metropolitan area. And so as I work in Tempe, I live in Chandler, and I attend a church, Copper Christian Church in Chandler, Arizona. And so fun fact, so you're saying some people might hear that and go, well, you don't, attend your dad's church. And where's your dad's church? Well, my dad's church is in Tempe. And but when I started my career, I spent some time undercover. And so while I was undercover, I grew my hair out. I had dreadlocks that were down to the yeah. It was awesome. In the middle of my shoulder blades, and it was just fantastic. I said one claim to fame that I had, right, is that Larry Fitzgerald's the esteemed wide receiver for the Cardinals. His hairstylist was my hairstylist, and so my dreads looked fantastic.
They were good.
wow.
Wow.
With that undercover world, I was doing undercover in and around where my dad's church was located, and so from a safety perspective, I had to attend a different church.
That makes sense. Where'd you go to high school? Where'd you graduate from?
So I graduated from Dobson High School in Mesa, Arizona, but I had spent some time at McClintock High School before transferring. So
Okay, I'm a native too.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh,
I,
I'm first generation. I went to St. Mary's High School.
oh, St.
Graduated from, I'm a
Mary's. Oh,
Knight.
yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't know that, Dr. Durden. That's
I
great.
know, and I didn't know we were from the same town. I attended schools in Roosevelt School District, though. I grew up in South Phoenix.
Oh my goodness. Now, you're going to be surprised by this, but I grew up in South Phoenix before I moved
You
to Tennessee.
did?
I did. So I grew
Okay.
up at 16th Street and Baseline.
Okay, I was off of Central and between Southern and Baseline. I went to
Yeah.
Loudoun and Valley View.
Oh, wow. My elementary school was Sierra Vista Elementary School.
Small world. Wow.
Yeah.
Did not
Yeah.
know that. Did not know.
Yeah.
Now you said Superman was your hero, so is Shaq. I thought about Shaq when you said that. He's a different fraternity, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Raj, tell us about when did you become a Sigma? Do you remember what happened? Tell us the story of the day
Yeah.
that Raj became a Sigma. Jimmy's is funny. What happened to him? What the hell happened
Absolutely.
to
So, in 96, I had graduated, and my brother was at the University of Missouri. That's where we got football scholarships to go play football. And, growing up in Arizona and going to Missouri was a culture shock, I'll say that. And
Mhm.
so when I went there, I was probably there for about a semester. I was young when I went to school there. Starting out because I graduated high school a semester early. So my brother had already been there for a year, and at the time we had some football players that were Sigmas,
Okay.
and one of my frat brothers, at the time he was just meant the way he carried himself and was just sharp. You
That's
know,
great.
the discipline out there on the football field, his faith in God, and just like how he carried himself and how he led on the, just was like, huh, I didn't want to be part of that. And so he had said, hey, I'm a Sigma. Have you guys thought about pledging? My brother and I, we did not go look and research in other fraternities. We didn't
Oh,
do that. No, we didn't do that. He's like, because we were so like, hey, Kenyatta, man, brother Kenyatta, he's fantastic, and we looked up to him. He's an older classman, and so before you know it, I was standing on the line with five other brothers, and in '96, and that's how we came into it. We just came into it just generally, just homesickness. We want a camaraderie. We
mhm.
want a camaraderie outside, the sport of football, and we wanted to be on somebody who was of good character. That's how we came into it.
That's fabulous. So it
Yeah.
was his character. Jimmy, what can you
Yes,
say to that? I think the same thing. I had told Jimmy when I first met you, I just liked you so much. I thought you were so kind and so caring. And then when I found out you were a Sigma, I'm like, of course. And that's what I find with Sigmas and Zetas. We just a different cloth. We're a different
yeah,
organization. It's not about anything but serving. Most of us are in serving
yeah,
jobs too. Look at Jimmy. He does this
yeah,
every Monday and he's been doing
yeah,
it for years and bringing people together. I really see that in you.
It's true. I see it as well, and I didn't know if you remembered me telling you about how I became a Sigma,
I
but
remember.
I'll just give you the short story. I won't go into all of it, but I was a freshman in college, uh, University of Michigan, in Flint, Michigan. That's where I was born and raised in Flint, Michigan. And there was a Sigma in my psychology class. His name was Stephen Broughton, and he asked me if I'd like to uh, come to a meeting to find out about Phi Beta Sigma. I knew zero about any
yeah,
fraternity,
yeah.
nothing.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so at that time, it was at one of the brothers' apartments, and I had the hardest time finding the place. I couldn't find it. They gave me directions, and so I was about 30 minutes late. So when I walked in, I noticed there's like five guys sitting on the floor in front of the sofa and weren't saying a word. And the brothers saw me and they said, "Oh, come on in, come on to the kitchen, Jimmy." They brought me back into the kitchen. They explained to me about the fraternity and everything. And so I said, "Okay, I'll try it." And so they had me sign the document, the Squire sheet. I
Yeah.
signed it, and immediately, the person I was sitting on the floor with those other five guys. It was like, "Whoa, what happened to the nice guys?"
Oh yeah. Right.
Hmm.
Like, okay, what have I done here? So, so we played
Yeah.
for about, I don't know, probably about 4 weeks, and
Yeah.
We all got upset. We all quit. But then later on, I went back. At that time, I transferred to another school. And then I knew what it was about. I understood what
Yeah.
it was about.
Right.
And
Yeah.
at that time, I went ahead and finished up and
Yeah.
became a Sigma in 1977, actually.
Oh, wow.
But the
Oh,
first year, and so our chapter was formed in 74.
okay.
So this would
Sure.
be in 2024. We had our 50th anniversary
That's
this year
amazing.
for the
Wow.
chapter.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the brothers came back. And sadly, it was really good to see some of the brothers that did well for themselves. But also sadly, there were brothers that had passed away.
Sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, but because you're in law enforcement, I will share this one story. While I was in college, one of my brothers, his name is Kevin Lewis, he always talked about, I want to be an FBI agent. I want to be an FBI agent. And he majored in criminal justice. Well, it turns out at the 50-year reunion, he became an FBI agent.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
That's okay.
yeah, and he had done quite a few. He was kind of he wasn't. We had to pull information out of him. He really
Okay.
didn't want to say all the
Yeah.
things that he had
Hmm.
done,
Yeah.
but we did discover that he was instrumental. Remember the DC sniper?
I,
The,
yes.
well, he was instrumental in capturing the DC sniper.
Wow. It's incredible.
But he didn't want it known, and he was like, he was just he didn't want it
Hmm.
known. But one of the
Hmm.
brothers said,
Hmm.
yeah, our brother Kevin was responsible for capturing that guy.
Wow. That's
That's
incredible.
So,
awesome.
which
That's awesome.
leads me to the next question. You mentioned undercover work, but I'm sure from the day, if you've been in for 22 years, you've taken on a lot of different responsibilities, I'm sure, to commander.
Yeah.
So, what was kind of your path from day one recruit or, process? Now, I'm not in criminal justice. I really don't know other than what I see in the movies,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so what was your path from
That's a
the
great question.
time you started to where you are now? And where do you want to go with it?
Okay.
Dr. Davis, uh, I think so. When I first started, I was like, um, I was one that actually had this path. Maybe I'll go to Secret Service. I'll say that. And so I
Hmm.
had met with Secret Service, and uh, the Secret Service agent, that special agent in charge, said, "Hey, go back and get law enforcement because I do not want to be in law enforcement. I was still trying to figure it out." And then he said, "Go back and get 3 years law enforcement." I never hired anybody. I was ambitious. He goes, "I never hired anybody at the age of like 21, 22."
Hmm.
And so he said, "Get this experience and then come back." And so I said, "Okay, sounds good." So I said, "All right, well, Tempe is it." I grew up in the state of Tempe. I attended, the Conley and Curry, the elementary schools, and spent time at Clintock. My parents, still live there, and so I said, "I'm going to go be a police officer in Tempe." I had a bunch of reasons of why I wanted to do that, and you'll laugh. I remember I was driving in Tempe because I had an uncle who worked in Phoenix in organized crime as sergeant over there, and I said, I better go to Tempe because there's probably not. They probably need more Black people in the city of
Hmm.
Tempe
Uh-huh.
than they do. That was one of the thoughts. I just
Right.
always remember laughing to myself, right, with that. So I had joined the force in 2002. And when I joined the force, I started quickly seeing the impacts of really being involved in people's lives, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so I loved it. And I said, okay, this is going to be where I'm going to stay. And so I was a patrol officer for 5 years. And after 5 years, I felt like, okay, I'm beginning to feel like I understand this profession and I beginning to feel more comfortable. And then I got recruited to go down to Mill Avenue and ride a bicycle as a bike officer down on Mill Avenue. And I said, okay, that's great.
That's where ASU is, our university. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Hmm.
yes, yes. And so the environment from Dr. Durden, thank you for saying that, because the environment is, a college town. And, we have one of the largest universities, in Tempe, in America, in Tempe. And so, college environment, you had thousands of people, bar district. So I went down there. It was very high speed in 2007. And it was very interesting. And we did a lot of good things to keep people safe and to hold people accountable. And then so while I was there, I had gotten recruited, and also in 2007 to join the SWAT team, Special Weapons and Tactics.
Oh, wow.
And so, and I think at the time what was going on is like I really thrive in a team environment. And I really thrive with like helping supporting the person that's next to me, in front of me, above me, and being part of a team. And so I was recruited to go to SWAT school, and I did that in 2007. And I had a blast, and I was on that team for about 10 years. In 2008, I got recruited by the full-time SWAT team called Special Assignment Unit. And the Special Assignment Unit, and I'll start breezing through, but the Special Assignment Unit was a full-time SWAT guys, and that's where we did the undercover, and that's where I grew the dreads, and that's when we started really doing drug enforcement from an undercover perspective, and we were doing conspiracy investigation into drug trafficking organizations. And it was a blast. It took me all throughout the state of Arizona going after people who were drug dealers. And that's a whole conversation just in itself. And like, it was
amazing.
Wild.
Scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are bad guys. Tough dudes.
Oh, they were tough. I mean, you're talking about, we would bump up into Mexico. That's where our cases would always go back and always end up going back to the cartel,
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. And so then I thought about the younger generation that was out there. We were such a fast and very, good unit that at the while when I was looking at, $500,000, I was not getting excited anymore. So I said, I need to go do something different. And so I promoted to sergeant. And then so I was a sergeant for about 5 years, and then had the opportunity to go to internal affairs. So I spent almost, I think about 18 months, almost 2 years in internal affairs. When I then promoted to lieutenant, and I was lieutenant in the field operations division. And then I was transferred over to our personnel service bureau, where we were responsible for hiring. And it was fantastic, a new challenge. And then I was moved into our downtown, where I spent time in the downtown district again, but as a lieutenant. And your downtown district was, again, I had been in that environment as an officer, but now I was leading from a lieutenant level. And then the opportunity had came along for me to promote to a commander. People had reached out and said, "Hey, I think you would be a great commander." And so I said, "Are you sure?" They're like, "Yes, you'll make a great commander." I said, "Okay." In much of prayer, I do this. And so then I was, I went acting commander in 2023, I believe. And then I was officially promoted December of 2023. And I've been in our South Division running patrol. And so it's been a fantastic career. And one thing I'll never forget, and I'll say this, is that I'll never forget when I graduated the academy. When I graduated the academy, we had a very awesome speaker, just good. And when he was speaking, he said, "I want to tell you something." He was like, doing this profession, he's like, "You're going to need something." He's like, "For me, I believe in Jesus Christ." He was just like, but for you, he's like, "You're going to need something. You need to believe in something to get you through this career." And he was not wrong. And so throughout this career, God has been faithful, and he's provided protection and his encouragement, because it's while it's been good, it comes with many challenges, you guys know.
It sure does, Raj.
Excuse me. We're out of time. We will share the rest of this episode next week in part 2. I hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Zeta Phi Beta Sigma podcast. Be sure to tune in each week to hear another amazing interview. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast and register for the annual Founders Day virtual reunion. Have a great royal blue and pure white day. Thank you.
I grew up in Flint, Michigan during the 60s, and as a child, I can remember the civil rights movement. I remember our family huddling around our small black and white TV, and we'd watch all of the things that were going on in Alabama and Mississippi. Some of my older cousins were active in the movement, and each week we would have a large Sunday dinner with the extended family, and they would come back and tell us about all of the things that they had seen and done. As a child of about 8 or 9 years old, I always wanted to grow up and be a part of the movement, but by the time I became of age, it was all over. All of the marching was done. I always felt left out, that I didn't get a chance to participate in the civil rights movement. But little did I know that God had another plan for me as a computer instructor and database developer. But even then, it bothered me that I didn't see many people of color in my classes. That is when journalist Dr. John Ray introduced me to Dr. Joel Dudley Sr. and Dr. Eunice Dudley of Dudley Products, who had been mentored by the millionaire S.B. Fuller. Through Dr. Dudley, I was introduced to Dr. Lafayette Jones, past Vice President of Marketing for John H. Johnson of Johnson Publishing, and his wife, Sandra Miller Jones, who was a Vice President at Quaker Oats, and together they created SMSI, a national marketing firm. Dr. George C. Frazier of FrazierNet and the Power Networking Conference, Dr. Jackie Mayfield of ComproTax, founder of the largest Black-owned income tax service, and even billionaire Michael B. Roberts. They all believe that the way to close the wealth gap is through entrepreneurship, because we as a people had to overcome slavery, and secondly, obtain our civil rights to be able to eat in any restaurant or stay at any hotel that we wanted. But the third piece is economic equality. And now I am also convinced that we must become entrepreneurs, and to do so we must embrace technology and a strategy of global networking. That is why I created Every.Black, to use my vast experience as a computer instructor to teach entrepreneurs how to use technology and artificial intelligence in business. Every.Black members are listed in our online website directory, promoted in our digital newsletter, on our social media, and on our podcast. And we also conduct weekly virtual mastermind meetings where we read positive books, learn from the experts, while networking with like-minded individuals from around the world, educating them about every aspect of becoming a successful entrepreneur. That is what Every.Black is all about. Just go to www.every.black to take the AI and tech classes you need, to register for our mastermind meetings, and to join the Every.Black family. Visit us at www.every.black and sign up today. Just go to every.black, every.black. No .com, no .net. Just every.black. .black is the new .com.